Are we all right? Okay, everybody. Raymond Flotat here again for mxdwn.com at Summer Game Fest. And you probably have some sense in the noise floor in the back. This is the chaos of the main floors. I am here with Adam and Bryant of Oxenfree II Lost Signals. How you guys doing?
Good, pretty good.
Yeah,
Great.
yeah. And now, we're big fans of the first Oxenfree.
Awesome.
Yes, we always really loved this game. It was a beautiful little piece of life. And I'm the kind of person that once I get to know something, we do a lot of music, movies, games, and television, and once I like something, I don't shut up about it. And so I told a lot of people, stop what you're doing and play this game.
Well, thank you for that.
You're welcome. And that's the thing. There's like a high barrier of entry. It has to be great. But once it's great, it's like I tell everyone in the world I've got to do it. So it's been some years since the first one. And by our count, what, 6?
Like 7 years.
7 years.
Yeah.
And I mean, I don't feel like, tell me if I'm wrong, this hasn't been in development since the last one hit.
No.
Yeah. A game between it. 2 games between it. Yeah.
You had a couple games.
Yeah.
Okay, so there was a pause,
Yes.
then you came back.
Exactly.
So now the big question that I was asking, and as soon as we sat down and we started playing the game, is it's kind of on a different island, at least as far as what you could say so far.
Yeah.
The main island from the first story is still there, right? But effectively, it's like a lot of this is set in a new island, the same mythology, the same universe, but different characters. So in a very Life is Strange 1 versus 2 kind of way, I'm going to start with why new characters?
It's a good question. So we didn't want to have the same characters of the first one for really only one reason, and it was just because we didn't want them to become kind of like a Scooby-Doo gang that was always coming into like the story of the week. Like now we have to have them fighting werewolves or something.
Sure.
So we wanted to keep the world and the same weird rules that we had for the world to explain how supernatural craziness can happen.
Yes.
So we wanted to have a different cast, kind of an older cast, one that is going through much the same kind of turmoil that the first game's cast was. That
Sure.
they're kind of coming of age, you're dealing with obstacles and challenges in your life, you're making strong decisions and deciding if you made the right choices in the past. And then a bunch of ghosts attack you to mirror and reflect your personal struggles. But now the characters are a little older,
Sure.
they're a little more kind of having a quarter-life crisis, sort of a thing.
Are they still roughly like 18? Or
They're not. They're in like early 30s.
Oh, they're
now.
that far ahead.
Exactly,
And that
yes.
explains why the character was complaining about his back, his spine.
Yes,
and like,
exactly.
I'm like, he
They're
seems a little
older.
young for having like bad spine problems
Exactly,
going on.
Yes.
Okay.
But it's the exact same town. So
Yes.
in the first game they went up to Edwards Island.
Right.
And they talked about Kamina back home. Now
Yes.
you get to actually see their hometown. So
Right.
it's a lot bigger. The cast is huge. You have a walkie-talkie so you can contact a lot more people that are on the mainland now.
Sure.
So it's the same vibe, but just a little older.
And now, is there any sense? I mean, you can't say.
Yeah.
Please forgive me, but I have to go there. Is there a sense of how much time has passed since the last game?
They directly say it's like 5 years.
So it's been 5 years since the events of everything that happened there.
Exactly.
Now,
Yeah.
it's been a minute. I do a lot of things, so you will forgive me for not having a perfect recognition of the plot summary of the first game, because I loved every second of it. But what I remember, I felt like it came to a conclusion where it was kind of like zipped up. The ghosts
Kinda
were
done.
free.
Exactly.
Done. The ghosts
Yeah.
are free, right?
Yeah.
Like she saved them from limbo, right?
Yeah.
And we're, limbo.
Well, she could have, depending on your ending.
Ah.
She could have. Yeah.
See, I didn't give it enough tries to go through and find that out. Okay, so now I'm learning stuff after the fact here. I feel like a dunce in this moment. But effectively, so very much not over, regardless of the ending.
Well, no. Really, depending on the ending that you got,
Okay.
you could have been very buttoned up, very zipped up.
All right.
At least a version of Alex and her friends.
Okay.
Because we're dealing with timelines, there's a lot of multiple versions, multiple realities that you're kind of bouncing around between. And that was actually part of the challenge of writing and making this one, was trying to decide how to pick what's canon,
Right.
how to pick what do we stick with.
And so is that to say that one branch of the story is burnt off and sold off, and then this is the branch that could go on?
Well,
like
we're
from the first
kinda-
game.
We're kind of cheeky with it.
All right.
Where we get to acknowledge a lot of the different versions of an ending that you could have gotten, because the rules of the world are still exactly the same.
Sure.
Where you can see peeks into other timelines, and the ghosts in this game, just like in the first game,
Sure.
kind of have an awareness of all the possibilities. So they know what could have happened, what didn't happen.
So you're wading into string theory now.
Exactly. Yes,
There's a
exactly.
multidimensional
Very heady,
Oxenfree.
very heady. Yeah.
Yeah, man. No, hey, I'm with it. I'm with it. I like to believe that there's a reality where I'm a woman where I'm president,
Exactly.
where I'm a rock
Where
star.
you're a lizard.
I'll settle for not bald. Like I would settle for that in some permutation of existence.
Exactly.
So this is the Oxenfree verse.
Yes, that's a good one. We're gonna steal that.
Oxenfree is cinematic universe.
The
yes.
Oxenfree cinematic, the multiverse Oxenfree verse. Very cool. And so, how much? I mean, let's put it this way: the first game was neat, compact, right? Like you could do this if you were like one of those like drive-in gamers. You could burn through this game in a few days, right? Like 'cause some people like me, I take months on something as the size of the first game because I got a lot of things to do in my life, right? But there are other people who are like, I'm gonna finish Tears of the Kingdom in 5 days, right? So does this one more in terms of scale than the first? Yes.
Yeah, it is a bit bigger. It is maybe like twice as big as the first game.
Okay.
In terms of just like sheer size, but also just the time it'll take to get you through the game. But there are also additional kind of like, I don't want to call them side quests, but like little side stories you can find on the walkie-talkie and in the world.
Oh, cool.
That expand it and allow the players to spend more time there.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. And I would guess by just what little I saw in a demo here, you do go back to the original island at some point.
Well, it's there.
It's there.
We won't spoil if you go back, but it's there. It's always there.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. That's fair. I mean, and I figured probably a big deal if you do go back. So,
Yes.
you know, there's like the ghosts of the kids from the original game in some permutation of the Oxenfree verse, as we've now dubbed it.
Exactly,
Very
yeah.
cool. So it is a little bigger at least, and bigger as a whole, as a story and an experience, and more side quests that you can do within that. And I mean, again, I whenever I'm talking to people in games, of course, I'm very sensitive and understanding. I'm not trying to like spoil shit for people like that. There's no point in that. I'm not trying to ruin the experience for everyone. So it's like, but I'm trying to think of what are the more interesting things that we can dive into here. And I'm guessing because, of course, in the first game there were certain ways certain characters could end up purely by the whole progression, right? In a very Life is Strange way, the further you went in one direction, you could push one outcome or you could push another outcome.
Right.
So, in theory, how many possible outcomes are we talking about here? Like, how many different ways could this one wrap up?
We actually kind of approach it a different way. We don't have like X number of endings. We like to, in the first Oxenfree, you saw that photo at the very end.
Sure.
That was kind of our collage of of your ending. So there are a lot of permutations of that.
Sure.
Whether or not Ren and Nona get together, whether or not you end up with reconciling with Clarissa or not.
Sure.
And what you choose, how you choose to deal with the ghosts in the end. All of those are reflected in like the final scene. That's kind of the approach we're taking. Again, just like not trying to say like they're like very specific things that can happen.
Sure.
It's kind of like all tailored towards everything you've chosen up to this point.
So it's more of like seasoning. That's the
Sure,
metaphor I'm going to go with.
Yeah, it's
The amount of flavor, you know, like some people like really salty French fries.
Sure, yeah.
And some people like no salt French fries.
Some people like spicy French fries.
Right,
Yeah.
and some people like that like goop with like the, you
Yeah,
know,
poutine or
the
something.
collard
Yeah,
greens
yeah,
and
exactly, absolutely.
Ugh. I
Yeah.
tried that once and I almost died. So
It's a lot.
no, so there's a lot of different gradients in terms of the possibility of the outcome, but it's not like you got ending A, ending B.
Right. And there may be some choices that'll affect it a little bit more, but we try to not treat any choices too precious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're big fans of Life is Strange at Mixdown,
Yeah.
and effectively anything that's choose your own adventure kind of things like this, where they're multi-branching narratives. And one of the things that I wasn't super over the moon about Life is Strange 2 when it finally happened was there's literally failed state endings, right? Like you get to the end, there's like, oh, this is kind of a happy ending, this is kind of a shit ending, and then there's like, you're arrested and you're hiding in Mexico. Spoilers, sorry. But that was the kind of thing that was, I don't know, certainly irksome. I mean, there's a different kind of environment there, and I won't go down that road. But anyway, back to your game. So now, it could be the TV, right? There's a lot of limitations in the TV, so I want to like give some credence to that. But my sense of it, from like a depth of field and a depth of color, right? It looks. I mean, original one I played on PC.
Yeah.
And I'm, something that size, right? Not the biggest screen, not the best graphics card. It looked great. It was gorgeous. I love the art style, but this feels infinitely more detailed. Am I right in that estimation, or am I just kind of breathing life into it?
You are. No, when we built Oxenfree, we the most powerful console was a PS4, right?
Yep.
So we were building it towards HD, right? And now it looks beautiful on a 4K screen because we built it for 4K. We authored the assets at 4K. That's not something we can really upscale Oxenfree right now because it's we authored it at such a lower scale. So everything's a lot crisper, but also everything moves, right? Like the little plants, the trees move. Like we wanted to add more life and more depth to the look from the first game to kind of like plus it up.
Without getting lost to tech-heavy details, because I'm sure we could spend an hour talking just about that.
Yeah.
But how much more does it take to make that work? To get that level of like, there's a plant blowing in the breeze, and now the breeze changes direction. Like, how much did that add to the development time for all this?
Not too much. We have a bit bigger of a team. When we made Oxenfree, it was like 6 people.
Yeah.
Now we have about 20 people working on this game.
Yes.
So we have like dedicated tech artists who write the shaders to make the trees, sway in the wind and things like that.
Sure.
So yeah, it would like time-wise, it wasn't too much, but now that we have like so many great talents on the team, we're able to do stuff like that.
Beautiful. Now, here's the thing that I find in situations with really compelling narratives like this, right? And I have this trouble across all the mediums we cover, and not so much music, but like, because music usually get to hear the whole thing and then you get to digest and write about it. But a lot of the time when you're doing stuff for games, for movies or for TV, you're reacting to something that you have not seen the totality of it, right? Like, now, of course, if we're reviewing it, that's a different story. But in an instance like this, I don't know the end game. Yeah. And then some of the richest, most interesting stuff to me is the meaning behind the story and how it all connected. And by the time, like, and there's also spoiler concerns, right? Fans want to play it and find out for themselves. So when we go and write a review something like this, we're not like, oh, here's how it ends, right? Like, that's not the first thought of what we're doing. Yeah. But then the problem is 3 months, 6 months down the line, everybody's moved on, right? Like press concerns have moved on, and it's kind of hard to work back on those things. And also people in your position are usually moving on to other projects, or maybe you're just on freaking vacation, which you probably need at this point. Yeah. So I guess what I'm trying to scratch at here, without going into spoilery turf, in terms of that kind of thing, thematic resonance, right? And there was, as you said, a coming-of-age story in the first game. There was a lot about these kids trying to find their comfort level with each other. Right. There was a lot of, like, tinglings of romance and awkwardness, and I mean, that all sounds like being 16. That sounds like 16 to me. What can you reveal without spoiling anything of the major juice in the story, right? In terms of what is explored in this one. Is it the same? Or are there different things that you're going deeper into? Because you said yourself, they're in their early 30s, right? Yeah. Different place of life.
Yeah. They're definitely different things. So they're definitely different in that the cast of the first one, since they're teens,
right,
it's all forward-facing, all their concerns. It's like, what am I going to be? What am I going to go do? What's really, what makes me impassioned?
No.
Whereas this one is all about the choices that they've already made,
yes,
and deciding if that's the right course that they want to stick to, or if they made mistakes and they want to go back and change some things, if they want to change course, or if they love what they're doing and
sure,
just want to commit still.
Wow.
So it's a lot more kind of backwards facing in terms of the choices that they've already made that the player gets to grapple with as newcomers to their
sure,
lives now.
I got to say, as a 42-year-old man, I feel seen and attacked.
That's good. It's meant to be both.
I really do. I feel seen and attacked at this moment. And I think to wrap up, the best place to wrap up, and once again, endings notwithstanding, I'm trying to tiptoe around the good stuff, so I'm sorry in that respect. But how many more? 3, 4, 5? How many Oxenfrees do you think will go?
We have to get to Oxen 3 because we keep making that joke, so we have to make it.
If it's not called that, like fast,
what's the
too
point?
fast, too
yeah,
furious,
exactly.
If you don't do that, I'm disappointed.
What would be the point?
That's what we should have called it.
Oxen 3, the third legacy.
Oxen 3, that'll be the capper probably. No, honestly, we haven't thought about it. We haven't even thought about it yet.
We wanted to make Oxenfree II is because we had a new story to tell in that universe. And I think if a new story comes, then we'll think about it.
Sure.
But until then, we don't know.
No plans right now, but it could, theoretically.
It could.
Excellent. Well, guys, thank you so much for your time.
Of course, thank you.
Thank you so much for such a wonderful piece of art. I mean that holistically and truly.
Thank you.
And so hopefully, and I don't know, soon, I'll be able to play the whole damn thing. So
in like 4 weeks.
July 12th.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Probably him, that guy there, and his crew will get to do it first, because that's the thing of being editor-in-chief. Like, I have to let them do that part while I'm trying to run the whole damn show. But
exactly.
I'll get to it. Yeah. I can do that.
Awesome.
Thanks so much, guys.
Well,
I really appreciate it.
Yeah, of course. Thank you.
So nice to meet you both.
Great to meet you.
Indeed. Thank you so much for your time.
Thanks, of course. You too.